Edward Oliveira here for DNNhero.com. Have with me my good friends Scott. Scott, how are you?
Hey, good. How you doing?
Very good, very good. Joe, how are you, Joe?
I'm great. Good to see you guys again.
Great to see you guys too. So, not a lot, but I think that we can wing a lot of juice here today. Let's start with the new DNN 804, which there's not much there, but still it's I would call it a few minor security updates that were done. But one thing that I would highlight on that release is the fact that now we are completely moving away from Codeplex. So bye bye Codeplex. Codeplex stay up to 803, and now everything, including not only the source code but the releases as well, will all be done on GitHub, which I have open in front of us. I just wanted to highlight that. I don't know if there are any additional consequences to that. I mean, Scott, do you see anything? I mean, that also means?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I've been going to GitHub. Well, obviously the code that has been managed in GitHub for a little while now. Whereas if you wanted to contribute, right, you have to do a pull request in GitHub. And so, yeah, really, the only place I've been going to Codeplex for is to just download the actual zip package. So I don't think that makes a difference.
Got it. Anything there, Joe?
Well, and I also think the Codeplex, I kind of like how they have the downloads with the documentation per download per page. Like GitHub, it's kind of one big long, so that's the only thing I didn't like about GitHub is I think documentation is a lot easier to do on Codeplex, so that may be an issue.
I guess that, I mean, we start to use certain tools, and we get habituated. I mean, we get into the habit of knowing how those tools work and how the flow works there, and when things change, I mean, we see impact, but anyway, Joe, anything there?
I did see one rather confused post on the DNN community forum from somebody who was having trouble following where things were and wanted to know why. I'm somewhat on Scott's side here. I think the Codeplex page was very user friendly. So I don't know if the GitHub presentation will put off people who are not say developer types. So we'll just have to see how that goes.
I understand the feeling. Oh, so I am a developer. I'm not. So I'm on the fence there. So I'm usually more interested really in the release component, release package. So when I go to GitHub, I just go to the release tab, to the release link, and that's it. I'll get what I need from there. So if I just go to the main page, just go to the releases, which I see number 5 there, and I can see right away the downloads there for me. Just lost my train of thought here, but that's fine. I'll just keep moving along. So I think that's about it on the release. Oh, and I wanted to mention that Joe Brickman posted a blog post on the DNN community forum about that change of evolving from the early days of DNN where it used to be hosted, and then the evolution, and then finally cutting completely not cutting completely, because for historical reasons the Codeplex past release will still be there, but from now on it will be all on GitHub.
I'll confess that I can remember back when all the downloads were on the .NET Nuke website, and finding things on Codeplex was new and different and slightly confusing for a while as well. So I assume long term this won't be a big deal.
Got it. Perfect. Okay. Okay, so moving along here, again, not much to mention about the DNN 8.4 release. There's a blog post as well. The few blog posts that were on the DNN community forum this past month. One was about this move to GitHub, and the other one was about the release of 8.04, which had minor security fixes there. Now, I wanted to mention about, I think that we always keep talking about the next event and the next event and the next event. So we now a month later after our first talk, Joe could not talk too much about that back then, but now it's established that there is something called a DNN Summit, which is the event, the organization as well, which is forming. It's in its very, I would say, infancy right now. And yesterday I had the pleasure, actually 2 days before, I think, 2 days ago, I had the pleasure to talk to the crew that is putting together the DNN Summit, which is this event that will take place. Actually, let me step back. Joe, do you want to talk a little bit about that?
Sure. The event that's coming up in mid-January is called DNN Summit. And if you go to the community forum, you'll see a blog post there. Or if you go to dnnsummit.org, you'll see a blog post that explains why it's not being called DNN Con anymore and why it's being called DNN Summit. That has to do with some organizational issues. DNN Con was a free event. DNN Summit, I think we're trying to aim it more as a professional conference. It's going to be Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday rather than Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It's the thing that was free at DNN Con will be a very modest cost for DNN Summit. If you register early, it's $99. What's coming along with that, and I assume people mentioned it in your interview the other day, is there is a nonprofit organization that's being formed, which will be called DNN Association, not to be confused with DNN Connect Association, which is the European group.
I get the feeling that as you speak and as I hear that everything is still under formation right now. It's very infancy. There are right now it's the event. So let them
right yeah. Long term there will be a nonprofit organization running a series of events, which from the experience of having organized one, having an organization with some continuity in history will make it easy for the next crew to organize one locally. DNN Summit, I don't think we mentioned, it's going to be in Denver, Colorado, and the lead organizer for this event is Cassidy Brigner from 10 Pound Gorilla.
She's local, isn't she?
She's in Colorado, and they're kind of geographically spread, I believe. But the team includes Cassidy, the organizers of the Southern Fried DNN, which is Clint Patterson, David Poindexter, Ryan Moore, Don Bishop and I are involved. Ralph Williams is involved. Jeff McWhirter from Gravity Works is involved. J.R. Brooks, who's the president of PowerDNN/Manage.com, is involved. So we're building out a team that will take this far. The event itself, Wednesday, I hope it's January the 18th, is the first day, and that's going to be focused around a codeathon that DNN Corp is organizing. Thursday will be the traditional training sessions, and I think that there will be an administrative.
There will be a round table, and then
There's one for administration, there's one for theming / skinning, one for development. There's going to be a half day, I believe that's still being organized, but a half day introduction to .NET Nuke session for people who don't want to do the whole day's experience, but want to get their handle around what is this .NET Nuke thing. And there will be a business roundtable, which is an opportunity for people to come and talk about how to use DNN in business, making contact, sharing experiences, sharing ideas. Then Friday will be the full day conference, multiple tracks, multiple sessions. This year a real effort is being made to bring in people who maybe are not traditional members of the DNN community, but focusing on related technologies, new technologies that we may see further down the road. And I forgot to mention the other important thing. The keynote speaker this year will be Scott Hanselman from Microsoft. Everybody who's a developer is nodding like Scott was nodding, knowing who Scott Hanselman is.
That's a big name.
It's a big deal. Yeah, I think we're trying to get also some coverage on Microsoft's Channel 9, much like they did for the DNN Connect meeting earlier in the year. DNN Connect will be there in a somewhat official role. There's in the sponsor area there will be a not quite sure what to call it, but an area where DNN Connect and the new U.S. nonprofit that is behind DNN Summit will be sharing space and talking to people. Let's see.
And then we have some birds in the background talking as well. I mean, that's wonderful, you know.
Yes, they're not screeching this morning.
Anyway, let me just finish with one thing. The DNN Summit, the interview that I have done with some of the members, I did with Cassidy, David Poindexter, Mitchell Sellers, and Clint Patterson. I spoke with all of them. It's about I think it's about 40 minutes, 50 minutes interview, and we went really deep. And I tried to go beyond, the data of days and times, but really the reasons behind and what else it is in the vision, in this early stages of the formation of this organization. So again, check it out. It's not live yet, but I will mention in the social stuff out there, Twitter, Facebook. I will mention once it goes live, so it will be public as well. Anything to wrap up that one, Joe?
Yeah, just important dates. Speakers, you have until September the 16th to submit sessions. Early bird registration runs till mid-October, so you'll be able to hopefully see some of the sessions and speakers before you make that commitment. And I left off the entire social thing, which is 2 parties, but then there's 2 days of winter outdoor activities, skiing, tubing, snowmobiling, for people who want to take part in that. I think I'm going to attend that, and I think I made a deal yesterday to share the lodging is condo-like, so there will be lots of room sharing. And I told Derek if I could share his condo, I'd get him lots of free drink tickets. And,
Good, good. Okay, great, great. I mean, it sounds very promising. I'm not sure. I think I have to extend my health insurance if I really want to take that on, because I don't know. I mean, I'm not into winter sports, but maybe, who knows? I mean, maybe you guys gonna have a good laugh of me, trying to get my way around, stuff in the snow,
I can tell you right now, you won't see me involved in the more physical parts of the winter activities, but I might be willing to be a passenger on a snowmobile.
Or you might be able to help the ones that go broke, that they break stuff. I mean, you may work in the support, as a support staff,
I don't do blood and compound fractures real well, I can tell you that part.
They'll find you to do something for you to do, Joe. There. Okay. So again, check it out.
But it's the first in a new series of DNN events, and I think you'll see some other interesting announcements coming down the pike as well.
I'm sure. And again, with the fact that the event is now paid, that gives more funds to the organizers. And the other aspect that they are trying to push very hard is to in a way to document the process, to create processes and procedures, so the next person that wants to host an event this locally will have a guideline, will have a structured way and steps to follow through to implement that on their city. Hey, who knows? Maybe I'll bring this up here to Toronto, but that's a different story.
Exactly, and with the organization behind it, the members of the board of directors of that organization will not roll out after the event is over, so there'll be great continuity.
Exactly. That's it. That's continuity. I think it's the key word there. Anyway, talking about continuity, let's continue here. So DNN Summit, that's it. Now, I would like to bring our attention to the DNN Southern Fried DNN user group, which had an event just I think just 2 days ago. Let me see this. No, actually, it was a week ago. Yes, and they mentioned about the DNN Summit, which we covered that already. Now I want to jump in the presentation that Joe Brickman gave on that event. It lasts for about an hour, from minute 17 to an hour and 20. So it was a good hour-long session from Joe Brickman talking about microservices in Evoke, and not only in Evoke, but in DNN in general, and even beyond that. Even exploring how that could be used on simple HTML pages that are not at all connected to any CMS out there. So I before we start the chat today, I asked Scott if he wanted to chime in and talk a little bit about his understanding of microservices. And so, Scott, I mean, do you want to add something up to that topic?
Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to give kind of a real-world example. I mean, we could read through obviously you'll provide a link to the blog, and I think there's a video on here too that you can watch, I believe. Maybe not. Oh, there is. Okay. Yeah, where he describes it. I mean, I think part of it may be coming from Azure and DNN's using of Azure, but basically what he's talking about is, we've built DNN applications in the past that just, you build module and modules and modules and modules, and they all work together in this application. And what happens over time is all the modules store their data in the DNN database, the sites database, and that just grows and grows and grows and grows. The usage of it grows and grows. And so the idea of building services, like your modules, for example, that are outboard, that are outside of DNN, on Amazon, on Azure, And the idea is to keep the services small. I guess that's why they're calling them microservices. In other words, don't build a service that does everything, just build it that does a specific task. And the other thing is it can be independently deployed. It's autonomous. In other words, you could deploy it to your Azure or Amazon environment, and independent of your DNN site. So it should work. The API should be versioned and backward compatible and all that. And but the idea is it spreads the cost. And so a real world example of this is our Bravo search product that I've been building with Blue Bolt and for the Bravo Square brand. We started by going, okay, there's a problem with DNN search. It's awesome. It's using Lucene now, back in like 7.1 or whenever it came out. But the problem exists is that the Lucene, the module itself, the Lucene, is all encapsulated inside the application. And so you have to do a lot of heavy lifting whenever you index documents. Like indexing your pages and module content is heavy lifting, because Lucene does all the analyzation on that content up front. So you've probably seen it on the search admin. Has anybody seen on the admin search admin where there's that reindex content button, and there's that little disclaimer above that says your performance for your site might actually. So that's the reason for that. So we thought, well, let's outboard the Lucene engine, right? So we started with building a DNN module that plugs into as a module, but that the search engine's outboard. It runs on a Java external application. You can host it on an external server, or at least on your server, but in a totally separate application space, right? And again, if one goes down, the other one doesn't. It just, your search might not work. So we started with that, but then we recently started talking to clients and started thinking about, well, how can we make this search platform independent? And so we made it work with Drupal, actually a Drupal module, but the way we ended up having to do that is to outboard not only the search engine, but also the API in front of the search engine completely off into an, we're using Azure. And so now we've made it to where the whole search API, the modules are really thin encapsulation. It just calls that API. But now we've moved it to where not only does the client not have to worry about hosting a search engine, because some of our clients have had to buy their Linux servers or whatever to host it. Now we can host it and provide the services, and it can be completely decentralized, completely automated, upgrades and all that stuff. And now, and I think this is what Joe was talking about, you don't have to put as much business logic in your module, because that all is outsourced. It's all on the services side. So now we can make it for Drupal and for DNN, and without having to like rewrite tons and tons and tons of code.
Got it. Well, that's a very good overview, Scott. Yeah, that's great. I mean, to make things thinner and outside of, without impacting the the website. It can be completely outside as a separate entity and be independent. That's great. So again, if you want to get more details, go through the session of Joe Brickman. It was really detailed, and people had the opportunity to ask questions as well. So it was a very good one. I have not gone through it entirely yet, but I will definitely be doing that. And go ahead.
He also did a version for DNN Corp, and I think it was probably more like 45 to 50 minutes. It was more of a high-level discussion. I think it was either the day before the Southern Fried meeting or maybe the same day, and the Southern Fried one was a deeper dive, as we say these days. I haven't actually seen that one, but if you want more of a long executive summary, you can probably find the one at the DNN Corp site.
I'll get that link and I'll post that together as well. Okay, so moving along here, in terms of blog posts and news in general, that's basically it. Now, this other step in our talk today, it's more about the new releases of what I have seen coming out new from posted, publicized on the DNN store. So I'm gonna just start here by just browsing through. Cart Viper had a new release there. Cart Viper is an e-commerce module for DNN from Bite the Bullet. DNN integration to Salesforce via DNN Salesforce add-on by DNN Sharp has a new version as well. This is an add-on, so you need to have, I assume you need to have another module from DNN Sharp. Yeah, so this is an add-on to connect your DNN site to Salesforce, a sales automation, a very, 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 very popular sales, a CRM system, I'll put it this way. Then we have Power Forms. Power Forms is a simple form module, but very, very nice. I mean, not bad at all. Simple, but good. From DNNGo.net. That's a module that can be purchased independently from theme packages, but it also can be purchased within some of the skin packages of DNNGo.net. We have also a new release from DNNGo.net, DNN Gallery Pro. It's an image gallery. I have not used that before, but they have a new release here. And then something called Smoke Ranch Ad Banner Manager from Smoke Ranch Software. Have not heard much about this module at all, but what I read here is that it's an ad banner manager. Not sure how popular it is and how well it is put together. Go ahead, Joe.
They've been around forever, and I'm interested to hear that there's a new release because I was not aware that they were still very active. Maybe with the removal of the vendor and banner stuff from DNN, they see an opportunity in that little niche again.
Maybe, and they are in this space since 2006. That's what says on their profile here. So who knows? I'd love to have. I may reach out to them and see if we can talk about that. If we can talk about talking, and recording. Now, this is basically it about modules. There are some themes that were released, either new versions of existing themes or new themes, but I was not very excited to show them up because, I mean, to be quite honest, you don't see too much new stuff going on right now on themes, It's just there's a code name that doesn't mean too much, like, DNN theme 043. I mean, what does that mean, So I decided that instead of featuring themes right now, I would talk a little bit about, something that I would like to recommend theme builders, skin creators to do more and more. And I compared that to what I see on the WordPress space, which, I cannot not draw the comparison there. If you look for themes on the WordPress space, very quickly, you realize that, yes, there are some generic themes that it can have a multi-purpose use for them, but very much and very frequently, they try to go to a specific vertical. It's a theme for real estate. And I'm just scrolling here through Theme Forest. Just to give a few examples, there's a flower shop theme. There's a plumber website theme. There's a news website theme, news magazine. There's a multi-purpose here. There's an e-commerce here. There's an apartment complex theme. There's an SEO theme, SEO business theme, a psychology theme, a newspaper theme, and then a petition theme. So it's very much geared towards what the businesses they need, and when you think about acquiring a theme, you don't think about, if you are a business owner, you don't think about acquiring a generic one. I mean, you have a need in mind that you want to sort it out, and you are in business in a certain vertical, in a certain niche, So it would be, I would like to entice more the skin developers, the theme builders, to be more specific. Now, I understand that themes can be generic, and you have the tendency of thinking that, hey, if I make a theme that is generic, any person can use that theme to put up any kind of website. That's a valid way of thinking, but it doesn't translate well into what a business owner that needs to put up a website that they want to see. Now, what I would recommend, what I would challenge you theme builders, theme creators, and if I was one of you guys, I would be doing that, which is grab your theme and create page templates, create site templates on that theme that are specific to a certain vertical. So my point is that by using the same theme, you could deploy different site templates. And for those who don't know what site template is, I will post a link to that. It's just a way that a vendor or anybody out there can export your site content and redeploy that to another instance of DNN. So a skin vendor can put together a site template that can give you pages, can give you sample content, can give you blocks of different areas on the different pages that will talk to that vertical. And I'll give you a few examples. That will talk to travel, to farming. And by the way, I just want to mention that if you go to the DNN store and if you go under themes, you can go to genres and you can see different genres of themes. Cars, music, hotels, but you don't see much. You don't see that many themes fit in those categories, So yeah, I just want to not a rant, but just a recommendation, a suggestion that but on top of creating generic offerings like a limited theme 043, but deploy site templates for verticals that use that theme applied to an accountant's website, a travel website, a lawyer's website, and the list goes on. And
basically just follow the market trend. I mean, you've seen commercials for those e-commerce site builders like Wix and Weebly and Squarespace. They're advertising to non-technical business owners and saying, and they do the same thing. You want to build a flower shop website? Here's your template, and here's how you sell items. And so that's being a big trend. It's big enough that we're companies that are advertising on national television. You've seen the commercials. WordPress is trying to get into that as well, and they're pushing heavily for that, because if you look at competitors for Wix, WordPress is actually one of them, because I think they also offer a builder, like a complete website builder type solution. So yeah, I mean, just follow the trends. And what I bet is, Adderson, you get better sales by targeting your audience than you would by saying this is theme 001.
Very true, very, very true. And at the end of the day, I mean, I want to make a side note here as well. If you look at the release frequency of the DNN store newsletter, you see that they release less and less newsletters, which is a result, of course, of less and less modules and skins and themes being done. It used to be that a few years ago, I used to review every week a list of modules and a list of skins. It was called skins. Every week on Thursday, there was a new list coming out. Now I went back and I checked, and there's really the most twice a month, but lately once a month. So you see less and less release of that, and I think that partially, God knows what are the reasons behind that. But if you can build stuff that is more commercial, that has a bigger appeal, because I'm sure that what is behind of those generic themes is that, you know, vendors try to sell to developers, you know, to other tech people, you know, and that's not where the big market is. You see someone like, you know, Hotcakes. It's a big e-commerce solution that, by the way, it's built on top of DNN, you know, but they don't go after just the DNN space. They go out there in the big market, you know. So in a way, that's also what we're talking about here, you know. Let's try to be more commercial oriented and be more focused on what the businesses are, you know, looking for. Like what Scott is telling is very true, you know. There are so many of those ready to use website tools out there, and companies are being built, you know, huge, become big and bigger and bigger by using those kinds of by deploying those kinds of tools. So again, just trying to be tuned to the market, as Scott was mentioning here. That's it. That's about as close as a rant that I'll be going through today. I want to mention, Scott, this will go back to you. Joe, if you have anything to add, feel free. But Scott, I'll go back to you. You just sent me a new release for a new set. It's not live yet, I know, but it's called Building a URL Extension Provider for DNN. Do you want to unpack a little bit about that? Do you want to just give a little bit of, you know, what is there?
You guys know what a URL extension provider is? Yeah, have you guys ever used one? Okay, yeah. So it's, I guess I don't know how common it is, but I think it's being more common for module developers to include as part of their module some sort of URL rewrite capability for your module, like a blog or an e-commerce, like Hotcakes, I believe. Mentioning Hotcakes, they package one with their modules, because, you know, for your module, you don't want, you know, for example, e-commerce, right? You don't want your product page to be, you know, /store/product/ you know, question mark, product ID equals 45678, you know, or whatever. You want it, you know, you want it to be a nice, pretty URL, like maybe even include the category of the product, like /electronics/ you know, Asus router.
Why?
Well, and I'm not the expert on SEO, but it's for Google engine. What do they call it? Link juice? Is that? I don't know. But
it's. I mean, I asked just to, you know, to get the conversation going, but it's for SEO, you know, a friendly URL with a juicy, you know, keyword rich URL. It's always better on SEO, you know.
Yeah. So the background came from actually a Hotcakes project. The background for this, and what I built was a URL rewriter for the DNN Connect open source blog module. And so I think I provided you all the links. We'll put it up on the video page. But basically, the blog module, the URL is okay. I mean, it includes like a post ID in it and stuff like that. So I basically built a standalone URL provider that works with that blog module, that open source blog module, that rewrites the URLs so that you could include category names and the slug, what I call slug, which is a pretty version of the title of your blog or your product, in the URL. And again, it all comes down to Google. Google works on keyword density, right? So if you have a bunch of IDs and query string garbage in your URL, yeah, you might have the title in there too, but you also have all this other noise. So you keep it as concise as possible with real world human language words, you know, that the better that is. So I show how to build that, but the background of this was I just did an e-commerce project, and, you know, two of the biggest requirements for URL rewriting was, number one, the Hotcakes product details page. We had to do something a little different than what comes with Hotcakes. They wanted the URL to be very specific, included the category of the product in the URL, there could be multiple categories, all have to resolve to the same resource, right? And so that was number one. They wanted very customized URLs for the product details. And number two, they needed their old system was built on a previous platform like ASP Storefront, like an older software platform that had this URL. It was like ASPX and and numbers in it and stuff like that. But it was a very formatted URL. They wanted those old URLs to resolve once we landed on the new platform, because obviously once you put on the new platform, you've got old URLs built into old literature, old links, PDFs, as well as existing Google pages, people's bookmarks, all that stuff. So that was where I show how to redirect, how to take a redirect and figure out how to resolve it to the correct location. So both rewriting and redirecting are part of this this new upcoming tutorial.
I assume it's a 301 redirect, correct?
Yes. I think you have control of that, but yeah, it's a 301 redirect.
Got it. Okay, so should be placed live before the end of this month of August. That's it. Thank you very much for the new set, Scott. Okay, I wanted to finalize today with, just mentioning that there might be a potential new contributor to the DNN Hero family, let's put it this way, more towards the theme and skin side, coming very, very, very soon. And I'm talking to this individual next week. Why am I mentioning that is just because I wanted to let you guys know that I'm always trying to bring something new to the game here, and even if that doesn't work out, but the effort is there, and I'm trying to get more, to provide more value and more juice to the DNN Hero subscribers, and that's about it. Anything else from your side, Scott?
Are you going to mention the name? Not yet.
No, I cannot do that yet.
Okay.
I cannot do that yet, but it will be mentioned. Joe, anything from your side?
Nothing from me. I may have an interesting story to tell you next month about a attack on a DNN site.
So I don't want to mention the name just because if it doesn't work out, I mean,
no, I gotcha.
I don't want to create expectations, and I didn't get his or her authorization to talk about that openly. Okay, that's just about that.
It's a man or a woman. That's all we know.
Okay, so it's probably not an alien.
Yes, yeah, we can rule out aliens.
I was very careful not saying him or just him or just... I think that we are done for the day. 40 minutes, just about that. Good number. Guys, thank you very much. Again, another chat done. Summer is almost over. My kids are back at school in about a week. Looking forward to that. And we'll talk again at the end of September. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys. Enjoy your last, take of summer there, okay?
All right. Take care.
Thanks. Take care.